Hello and welcome to this third lesson of Carry the Fire. The first three lessons are designed to change the lens that you see the world through. They're going to establish those big foundational principles about being a human that shape the rest of this path. After today, you're going to understand the game board. You're going to have the deeper principles you need for us to move forward. And then we're going to begin equipping you with more actionable skills. All right, so this is kind of the conclusion of that phase one. I want to start today with a point of clarification. I've said a lot of positive things about the world of hunter-gatherers and a lot of criticisms about our own world. But to be clear, I'd much rather be alive today and to continue to experience the magic that defines our world. I want you to take a moment to fully absorb how incredibly fortunate we all are to live right here, right now. Kings and queens a few centuries ago couldn't fathom the comfort, stability, and magic that we experience every single day. Just think about how amazing a basic telephone is. All right, you can take a phone, I can speak words into an aluminum device, and by some magic, someone across the world can hear those words. I can pick up a phone right now and instantly talk to my mom 3,000 miles away. I can even see her face. On top of that, I can jump on a plane and fly through the sky while watching movies that cost millions of dollars to produce and eating food I didn't prepare. Then I can see my mom, all right, who's 3,000 miles away, in just a matter of hours. On top of all that, on a cold night, I can sit in perfect warmth in my house watching the greatest athletes in the world play football, eating pizza that was delivered to me. It's truly an amazing, magical world. On top of all that, we inherit an amazing intellectual tradition, standing on the shoulders of giants who've made it possible for us to enjoy medical marvels, free public schooling, a government that protects basic rights, trained emergency services ready to rush in if we ever need them. This life is absolutely staggering. So I want you to appreciate and enjoy the perks of living in our luxurious time. I just want to help you avoid the common pitfall of equating greater happiness with getting more comfort, pleasure, and more of the things you want to buy. In fact, chasing more and more, which is what those 10,000 ads we see each day nudge us to do, is one of the best ways to guarantee long-term dissatisfaction. Have you ever wanted something like a new pair of shoes or a dirt bike or something like that, maybe a car, and you wanted it so badly, you pined for it, you couldn't wait to get it, but then you did get it. A few weeks later, you realize it doesn't even excite you anymore. You'd be angry if someone took it from you, obviously, but that initial feeling of gratitude and excitement has shifted from appreciation to expectation. You no longer are thrilled to have those nice shoes. You expect them and want the next pair. Psychologists call this phenomenon hedonic adaptation, or the hedonic treadmill, and it's a very important part of our human nature to understand. It's about as core as it gets to the goal of understanding how humans work. The hedonic treadmill is the tendency for each improvement in lifestyle to become your new normal. Your expectations rise with your fortunes, so that what once felt exciting quickly becomes unremarkable. The car you desperately wanted becomes just a way to get from A to B. The oceanside drive that took your breath away on day one of your vacation hardly registers by day 10. The Apple Watch you couldn't wait to get goes from amazing to normal to kind of even a source of agitation and deficient as a new product arrives, a better version of that Apple Watch. Even the girl you desperately wanted to be your girlfriend becomes your girlfriend, then your wife, and while super exciting at first, eventually this too just becomes another part of your life that you might take for granted. This is just how humans work. Each improvement quickly becomes normal. Your expectations rise. What once thrilled you becomes background noise. This is how it is possible for you not to be blown away by the fact that your phone allows you to talk to people who are in different places. And it means that no matter how magical life becomes, it's never going to feel like enough if you define happiness as simply getting more cool things, more comfort, more pleasure, status, and stuff. Getting more will never be good enough. The good news is that the mind does the same thing with hardships. Studies have shown that 1 year after their life-altering turns of luck, lottery winners and those who become paraplegics after an accident have equal levels of life satisfaction. Of course, we'd all prefer winning the lottery, but the underlying principle is essential to understand. We build a tolerance to whatever becomes normal in our lives, whether it's pleasure or hardship. Our bodies and minds simply adjust to the new set point. Our mood is going to depend less on our actual circumstances and more on whether things are improving or worsening. We feel good while things are in the process of improving and feel not so good when they are in the process of getting worse. And that's not speculation, that is the hedonic adaptation. That's human nature. That is how humans work. So if fancy cars aren't the secret to sustainable happiness, what is? Remember in lesson 1 when we learned about the Battle of Britain and how happiness and mental health actually improved as life seemed to be getting worse, as Nazi planes peppered the Britons with bombs each night? How is that possible? We discussed Rat Park and the environment we were built for in our last lesson, and we focused a lot on how we have physical needs that we must meet if we want to feel good. Right, things like sunlight, movement. Is it possible that in addition to physical needs, that sunlight, exercise, things like that, we need war? Younger's explanation is less dangerous. We don't need threats to our life per se, we just need to matter. As he writes, humans don't mind hardship. In fact, they thrive on it. What they mind is not feeling necessary. We need to matter to others, and we need to do things that we feel matter. Mattering is what is most essential. But this isn't something that can be forced. To matter to others and do things that matter takes work. We have to become competent enough to be capable of doing things that matter, to invest in relationships enough to have people we matter to, and mature enough to actually know what matters. So in order to matter, we need to build our capacities. People who don't have any skills will have more trouble mattering. And we need to commit to relationships and communities, because you can only matter to other people when you are connected to other people. Lastly, we need to have a clear sense of what work is meaningful. And that perfectly explains why mental health improved during the Battle of Britain. People had a clear sense of what mattered, and they did things that they knew mattered. Later in the book, Younger makes an even more startling and important statement. He says, "What would you risk dying for, and for whom, is perhaps the most profound question a person can ask themselves." The vast majority of people in modern society are able to pass their whole lives without ever having to answer that question, which is both an enormous blessing and a significant loss. It's a pretty powerful statement, so just sit with that for a second. I'm going to say it again. What would you risk dying for, and for whom, is perhaps the most profound question a person can ask themselves. The vast majority of people in modern society are able to pass their whole lives without ever having to answer that question. In the context of history, every man would have known what they would risk dying for, and for whom. The blessing of being alive today is that we have a lot of safety, we have a lot of comfort, and we have options about how we live. But unlike past generations, we can choose where we live, what we do, who we spend our lives with, and whether to commit to religions, groups, or value systems. We have a lot more choice, we have a lot more comfort, but all that freedom and comfort brings a deeper challenge, and that we don't have answers to these big questions. And that leaves us feeling lost and anxious. Often we try to cover that anxiety up by leaning into pleasures and distractions. Have you ever had one of those honest moments where you wonder how you'd respond if crisis struck, if something happened? Would you be ready in that moment? Would you behave admirably? It doesn't feel good to have doubts about these sorts of things. More generally, it doesn't feel good to look in the mirror and see that you're not yet who you wish you were, that you don't yet have the charisma, the confidence, the strength, the presence, the capacity to lead, and the knowledge that you want to have, that you're just not a finished product, you're not quite there. This can lead to doubts about whether you're ever going to get there. Those moments of uncertainty and doubt are painful, and that pain shows us problems that take time and effort to fix. Because the solutions to these problems are large, complex, and take a lot of work, we usually just push them away. We don't allow ourselves to sit with hard questions like Younger's. What would you risk dying for, and for whom? It's much more comfortable to grab some chips and scroll TikTok to distract ourselves. And in this way, we numb ourselves to unnecessary pain. In the modern world, we often look at pain as something we need to immediately fix with modern magic. But it's a good habit to always look deeper first. If there is a pain, we need to know the cause. Pain is nothing more than a feedback mechanism. It exists to signal something that needs to be fixed so that we can learn and adjust course. But our society gives us many avenues to numb our pain, thus removing the stimulus that would have helped us to grow. And growth is almost always the point, especially as you're entering adulthood. We've talked a lot about happiness, but that word is slippery. It means different things to different people at different times. The Greeks had a better word. They called it eudaimonia, which roughly means human flourishing or the life well lived. Eudaimonia is more than a momentary spike of pleasure, like eating a cinnamon roll or buying a house. Eudaimonia is the slow, steady fulfillment that comes from pursuing your arete. And here we can begin to more fully express what that word arete really means. Arete means excellence, virtue, or goodness, but not in an abstract sense, in relation to a person or thing's underlying purpose. The psychologist Jonathan Haidt explained it this way. He said, the arete of a knife is to cut well. The arete of an eye is to see well. The arete of a person is, well, that's one of the oldest questions of philosophy. What is the true nature, function, or goal of a person relative to which we can say that he or she is living well or badly. So that is the question. All right, we need to sit with that question. Pause if you need to. The arete of a knife is to cut well. What's the arete of a person? More specifically, what is your arete? The great philosopher Aristotle argued that this question was inseparable from happiness itself. He defined eudaimonia as an activity of soul in conformity with excellence, or arete. In plain terms, he meant that human flourishing comes from becoming what it is in your nature to become. Not becoming perfect, not becoming someone else, but more fully embodying the best that you are capable of being in your body, your mind, your character, and your relationships. Every seed has an animating force driving it to its own form. A cactus towards cactusness, an oak towards oakness. And you're no different. You too have a force that calls you forward toward growth, capacity, and becoming what you're made to be. Centuries later, Abraham Maslow, a psychologist, arrived at the same conclusion. He called this movement towards your arete self-actualization, which he defined as the desire to become more and more what one is, to become everything that one is capable of becoming. And that doesn't mean becoming everything at once. Growth is going to unfold slowly over time. There's no finish line where you arrive as a completed product and you're done. What matters is whether you honor that forward pull, whether you close the gap even slightly between what you are capable of right now and what you are actually embodying. That's the pursuit of arete. And when you live this way, something interesting happens. Happiness stops being the goal, just a byproduct. Eudaimonia emerges not from chasing pleasure, but from becoming, from growth, contribution, competence, and alignment with who you're meant to be. This path doesn't always feel good, but it's far better than numbing yourself with comfort and distraction. No great person in history became great by asking, "Am I happy right now?" They asked, "What needs to be done? Who do I need to become? What do I need to do now?" Counterintuitively, that's often been a really good route to happiness. But more importantly, it's a route to meaning. So I'm going to leave you with this. What is the true nature, function, or purpose of you, relative to which you can say that you are living well or badly? Sit with that question. It's not meant to be answered quickly. It's meant to shape your entire life. It's meant to be marinated on. Thanks for being here. Carry the fire.